The year is 1765. A storm is brewing. The skies darken and the air is thick with anticipation. The colonies, once peaceful and loyal, are now on the brink of a monumental change. Across the vast Atlantic Ocean, a chasm is widening between Great Britain and its American colonies. The once unbreakable bond is now strained as the waves of discontent ripple through the waters, carrying whispers of rebellion. The flames of revolution, though yet a flicker, are fanned by a single piece of legislation. The Stamp Act. This act, seemingly minor, would become the catalyst for a series of events that would forever change the course of history. This seemingly innocuous tax levied on paper goods ignited a firestorm of protest that would forever alter the course of history. The colonists, feeling the weight of oppression, began to voice their dissent, their anger palpable in the air. It was a turning point, a line drawn in the sand. The colonists, once compliant, now stood firm, their resolve unshakable. They were ready to fight for their rights, for their freedom. The colonists, long accustomed to a degree of autonomy, found themselves staring down the might of the British Empire. The tension was palpable, the air thick with the promise of conflict.
Have you ever wondered why we know so little about something as crucial as the American Constitution? Hi, I'm Casey, and I'm about to take you on a journey that will change all of that. At InspiredAmericaHQ.com, I've written articles that will bring back to life the extraordinary individuals who sparked the American Revolution. These aren't just dry historical facts. They tell stories of courage, conviction, and the relentless pursuit of freedom. As you watch this video, you're going to see thumbnails of my deep dive researched articles. Each one peels back a layer of history, revealing the events and personalities that shaped the Constitution as we know it today. From the tyrannical rule of King George III to the birth of a new nation, every article at InspiredAmericaHQ.com is a piece of the puzzle. Together, they paint a vivid picture of how American Constitution came to be. Ready to discover the untold stories behind the American fight for freedom? Visit InspiredAmericaHQ.com and be prepared to be inspired.
The Stamp Act was more than just a tax. It was a symbol of oppression, a stark reminder of the growing distance between the mother country and her colonial children. It represented the tightening grip of British control, a grip that the colonists were determined to break free from. It was a symbol of oppression, a stark reminder of the growing distance between the mother country and her colonial children. Families, once united in their loyalty to the crown, now found themselves questioning their allegiance, their future uncertain. The colonists, proud and fiercely independent, had long enjoyed a taste of self-governance. They had built their communities, their economies, and their lives with their own hands, free from the heavy hand of British rule. They had carved out lives for themselves in this new world, braving hardship and forging their own destinies. The wilderness, once a formidable foe, had become their home, their sanctuary. The imposition of the Stamp Act without their consent felt like a betrayal, a violation of their fundamental rights. The colonists who had fought so hard for their independence now felt the sting of oppression, their trust in the crown shattered. The colonists saw the Stamp Act as a dangerous precedent. If the British Parliament could impose such a tax without their consent, what other liberties could be stripped away? The fear of losing their hard-won freedoms loomed large. If the British Parliament could tax them without representation, What was to stop them from imposing further levies, stripping away their freedoms one by one? The colonists knew that they had to take a stand, to fight for their rights before it was too late. The seeds of rebellion, sown in the fertile ground of resentment, began to take root. The colonists, once loyal subjects, now found themselves on the path to revolution, their resolve growing stronger with each passing day. A new spirit of resistance was awakening in the colonies, a spirit that would ultimately lead to the birth of a nation. The colonists, united in their cause, were ready to fight for their freedom, for their future. The storm was no longer brewing, it was here, and it would change the world forever. As the leaders of the colonies gathered to discuss their strategy, the sense of urgency was palpable. They knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they were determined to forge a new path, one that would lead to independence. The colonial militias began to train, their resolve unshakable. Young and old alike took up arms, ready to defend their homes, their families, and their newfound sense of purpose. The spirit of rebellion was alive and well, and it was spreading like wildfire. The colonies, once divided by distance and differences, now found unity in their common cause. They stood together, their voices rising in unison, demanding their rights, their freedom. The seeds of rebellion had blossomed into a full-fledged movement, one that would change the course of history. The signing of declarations, the drafting of new laws, and the formation of new governments marked the beginning of a new era. The colonists were no longer subjects of the British Crown. They were citizens of a new nation, one built on the principles of liberty and justice. The flag of the new nation waved proudly in the wind, a symbol of the hard-fought victory and the promise of a brighter future. The seeds of rebellion had grown into a mighty tree, its roots deep and its branches reaching for the sky. Families celebrated their newfound freedom, their hearts filled with hope and pride. The journey had been long and arduous, but the reward was sweet. The colonists had fought for their rights, and they had won. The seeds of rebellion had borne fruit, and a new nation was born. The American landscape, vast and full of potential, stretched out before them. The future was theirs to shape, their destiny theirs to forge. The seeds of rebellion had given rise to a new nation, one built on the ideals of freedom, justice, and opportunity for all. The legacy of the revolution endures to this day, a testament to the courage and determination of those who fought for their freedom. The seeds of rebellion planted so long ago continue to inspire generations, reminding us of the power of unity and the enduring spirit of liberty. The American flag waves proudly, a symbol of the enduring spirit of the nation. The seeds of rebellion have grown into a mighty tree, its roots deep and its branches reaching for the sky. The journey of the colonists, their struggle for freedom, and their ultimate victory will forever be remembered as the foundation of a nation built on the principles of liberty and justice for all. The 7 Years' War, a global conflict that raged from 1756 to 1763, had left Great Britain victorious but deeply in debt. This war, often considered the first true world war, saw battles fought across Europe, North America, South America, Africa, and Asia. The British emerged triumphant, but the cost of such a widespread conflict was staggering. The British treasury, drained by the immense costs of waging war on multiple continents, desperately needed replenishing. The financial strain was unprecedented, with the national debt nearly doubling during the war. The government faced the daunting task of finding new sources of revenue to stabilize the economy and maintain its global standing. The war, fought in part to protect the American colonies from French and Indian threats, had left its mark on the British psyche. The sense of relief and pride in their victory was tempered by the harsh reality of their financial situation. The British public, having endured years of conflict, now faced the prospect of higher taxes and economic hardship. The government, burdened by debt and eager to reassert its authority, looked across the Atlantic for a solution. The American colonies, which had been a significant theater of the war, seemed like an obvious target for new revenue measures. The British believed that the colonies, having been defended at great expense, should now contribute to the costs incurred. The colonies, prosperous and growing, seemed like a ripe source of revenue. The population in the colonies had been steadily increasing, and their economies were thriving. From bustling port cities to expanding agricultural lands, the American colonies were a picture of opportunity and wealth. British officials, accustomed to viewing the colonies as subservient to the crown, saw little reason why they should not contribute more to the empire's coffers. They believed that the colonies existed for the benefit of the mother country, and that it was only fair for them to bear some of the financial burdens. The colonists, they argued, had benefited greatly from British protection during the war. The British military had defended them from French and Native American threats, ensuring their safety and allowing their communities to flourish. This protection, however, had come at a significant cost. Now, it was time for them to pay their fair share. The debate over what constituted fair taxation would become a central issue, with the British government insisting on the necessity of new taxes, and the colonists increasingly resistant to what they saw as unjust impositions. The British government, under the leadership of Prime Minister George Grenville, began to explore ways to extract more revenue from the colonies. Grenville, a firm believer in the need for fiscal responsibility, saw the colonies as an untapped resource that could help alleviate the national debt. The Sugar Act of 1764, which increased duties on sugar and molasses imported from the West Indies, was a first step. This act aimed to raise revenue by tightening enforcement of existing trade regulations and imposing new duties on goods commonly imported by the colonies. But it was the Stamp Act, passed the following year, that would prove to be the true catalyst for rebellion. The Stamp Act required that many printed materials in the colonies be produced on stamped paper produced in London, carrying an embossed revenue stamp. This included legal documents, magazines, newspapers, and many other types of paper used throughout the colonies. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation, a clash of wills between a powerful empire and its defiant colonies. The imposition of these taxes, without colonial representation in Parliament, ignited a fierce debate over the rights of the colonists and the limits of British authority. This conflict would eventually lead to a revolutionary movement, forever altering the course of history.
Okay, so as the Stamp Act crisis cooled, The sparks of revolution smoldered. The colonists' successful resistance to the unjust taxation just ignited a spirit of unity and defiance that would forge a new nation. The Stamp Act of 1765 may seem distant, but its lessons endure, and it reminds us even today that ordinary Americans can stand up against injustice, demand representation, and fight for our rights. From Boston's streets to Parliament's halls, this pivotal moment set the stage for a new nation founded on liberty and self-governance. So ask yourself, what would you have done facing such tyranny? How can we carry on the spirit of those early patriots today? Remember, the American Revolution didn't just start with a war. It started with a silly stamp. Thanks for watching. Check us out in the next video.